Friends, hi, welcome to day 123 of B365. I hope you're well. Today's readings, let's kick straight in Deuteronomy. Today's reading basically continues the theme that we saw yesterday, looking at obedience to God, and carrying on there the idea of the rewards that there are for those that are obedient, and also the punishments that are there for those that aren't so obedient. But look at chapter 30, verse 11, and we see it says, "Now what I'm commanding you today is not too difficult for you or beyond your reach." You know, yesterday I said that it can be a difficult thing to be obedient to some of the things that God expects of us, if you like. And sometimes we can even think it's too much, it's too hard. But today we're reassured and encouraged that actually there's nothing that we're being asked or even told to do that is beyond our capabilities. It's all within reach. It is possible. And then into chapter 31, we see Moses announces his retirement at the age of 120. So I don't know what all the fuss is about today. People complaining about working to 65. Moses doubled that. And then he appoints Joshua as his successor, and says that he is going to be the one to lead these people into the promised land that God has made a covenant with his people to take them to. So no pressure there, Joshua. But then there's a promise in verse 8 that God, he says, will be with you, that he will never leave you or forsake you. That's the promise to Joshua. But remember that in John 14, Jesus makes that same promise to us, that he would send his Holy Spirit who would never leave us. So that's a promise that applied to Joshua back in the day and applies just as much to us here and now, that we will never be left on our own, so we've got nothing to fear. On into Luke, and amongst other things, today we see the parable of the rich fool. And so in chapter 12, verse 15, Jesus is telling this guy that actually life isn't about possessions. It's not about how much you can build up. And so he goes on to tell the parable that ties in with the passage that we read yesterday in Deuteronomy. And it's a story about a man who builds up his savings, he stores up all his wealth, his possessions, and builds a bigger barn to save even more, and then he dies. And Jesus' message is, well, what's going to come of all that stuff that you've saved when you're dead? And the answer, of course, is absolutely nothing. So let's not be wasting our life chasing possessions or riches or whatever it is while we're here. It's really, really not worth it. And then our psalm, Psalm 46, just the first verse reminds us that God is an ever-present help in trouble. And so there's that contrast of yesterday's Deuteronomy passage saying that those that die without God, life is basically wasted, and then today Jesus saying that if you're saving up treasures here, that's not what it's about. You die, it's all for nothing. But the contrast in the psalm that tells us that those that are with God, that God is an ever-present help in trouble. He is always with us. And then verse 2 reminds us that we don't have to fear, even if the earth gives way, even though everything, if you like, that is around us physically gives way. It doesn't matter. That's not what it's about, that God is with us and we are with God. And that is something that can never fail and would never leave us. So friends, be encouraged by that and enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.